Hello, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, you thirsty bunch of beer drinkers, whenever and wherever you're tuning in from. Thanks for pressing play and supporting a Canadian podcast. I'm Troy Burtch with Great Lakes, Ontario's local brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery based here in Etobicoke who brings you this here Between Two Fermenters, the podcast where craft beer and conversation collide, straight from the tanks to your ears. All right, I got a favor to ask you. If you haven't caught episode 28 with Ralph Morana, the godfather of Volo, that was back in February of this year. Hit pause right now, scroll back, and give that interview a listen before you continue. If you trust me, it's worth the context. All right, you're back? Okay. Introducing today's guests, and yes, that's plural. I'm extremely excited to welcome Tomas and Julian Morana to the show today, the brothers behind some of Toronto's most iconic beer destinations, events, and beers. Bar Volo, Birreria Volo, Cask Days, Keepsix Imports, and most recently, Bottega Volo. These two have been instrumental in shaping Ontario's craft beer scene over many years. They've created spaces and experiences that not only put Toronto on the global beer map, but also gave breweries a platform to showcase their work and connect with customers who crave new flavors and new styles. If you know the Moranas, you know nothing is done half-assed. Every project is deliberate. Every detail matters, and they've consistently gone all in to create lasting institutions and experiences. They never sit idle for long either, always looking ahead, always crafting something new to get people excited. What I really admire is how Tomas and Julian managed to honor the past, paying respect to the influence their father Ralph and the original Volo had on Canadian beer culture, while pushing forward with innovation, bringing in fresh ideas and attracting a new generation of beer lovers along the way. Respected and admired throughout Canada, Tomas and Julian have accomplished so much at such young ages, and it's a pleasure to have them here today. We're going to get into all the history, so buckle up, grab a fresh one, crack it open, and let's get right at it. Hang tight. We'll be right back with Tomas and Julian Morana.
It's Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery. We believe in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. It's Great Lakes Brewery. Order online for free local home delivery. In the GTA, good times and amazing beer. That's GLB.
That was the first time we ever did a triple crack of the can, so that was awesome. Hello, Tomas. Hello, Julian. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Troy. Thanks for having us. Happy to be part of it.
And happy to have you both join me here in the humble Between Two Fermenters studio in glorious Etobicoke. So, fellas, we go way back, almost 20 years now. Like, it's hard to believe. Julian, you and I were just talking about looking at old images and how young you looked in a lot of those, but almost 20 years we've navigated our way through the industry together, really. Tomas, you and I took a course together at George Brown. I don't know if you remember that.
Oh, I remember.
Ron Keefe from the Granite was our instructor. And that was like 2007, I think. And Julian, everyone thinks that we're brothers.
Yeah.
That was everyone back in the early days of Volo, the OG location, always asked, how's your brother doing? And I was like, he's doing well. He's back home in Brecken. And they're like, no,
yeah.
Julian. I was like, that's not my brother, man. But
I still see it.
Yeah, you still,
we could all be brothers.
I'm an honorary Morana.
Yeah.
Are you Italian?
I'm not Italian. No,
okay.
I don't really know it. I'm a little bit English, a little bit French, a little German, a little Irish. I don't know. I'm a mixed bag. But I'm from the country. So how are you two doing these days?
Good.
So if you're listening, this is Tomas talking.
Hi, everyone.
And Julian, how you doing?
Doing good.
Yeah.
You know, just getting through. I mean, we're both new parents, so just adjusting that new lifestyle within work.
I was going to say we have a Maximus and a Raph, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Little Rafa is 4 months now, and
That's amazing.
Max is
15.
15. And how are you guys enjoying fatherhood?
It's good. It's a different pace. I I mean, as you get older, you naturally wake up earlier, and so you just got to get home before 5 o'clock.
How is it when you have all these locations and you're in beer, and you have a young one at home? Like, I've gone through it, but how has it affected your
very fixed schedule, very regimented? The luxury of having, a night off to work on a project at work at home is non-existent.
Non-existent anymore. Yeah. You have to pack more into the day, right?
Yes, make use of the time, and
the biggest change is not being at the bar as late as we used to be.
Yeah.
Kind of creating new boundaries within ourselves.
Yeah. You have to schedule your time more accordingly.
Yeah. I mean, that's why we're getting into coffee.
Yeah.
But also, we used to, when we'd close the ar at 3 a.m, you'd be in bed by 5.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, that's when we're getting up now.
Yeah.
So it's a complete 360.
It's a whole different life now. I don't want to rehash the past as much today. But in order to tell your stories, it's important to cover some of it, as you guys are so ingrained in Toronto's beer culture. So there may be some jumping around here and there between periods today. So I want to start off with this, though. Can you give the listeners a refresher on the business? All the locations, the events, the imports. Just give us the close notes of, I guess, the Volo empire.
Sure. No particular order. So we run Bar Volo, 17 St. Nicholas Street, right in downtown Toronto. It's a bar, restaurant, and brew pub. It's been open for now 5-6 years, and was sort of the second location of the original, which was located at 587 Yonge Street, right at the corner of Yonge and Dundonald. Which closed in 2015.
Yeah, 2015. Yeah.
So we moved that location across the street, and that location had been there since 1985. Not to get too much into the history, but that was our first original location, Italian trattoria, family neighborhood restaurant, evolving into a beer-focused bar. That location sadly had to close because of a condo development, and we were lucky enough to move it across the street years later. Alive and well, doing great, brewing beer. We also have a location on College Street, which I opened with my brother in Little Italy, called Bottega Volo. For pronunciation's sake, think pizzeria, but for beer, Birreria. And that's a very cool little laneway bar, 120 feet long by 9 feet wide. It used to be an alleyway. And at some point in the 60s and 70s, two brothers actually decided to open up a pizzeria there. And the story is that they convinced the landlords of the two buildings to put a concrete roof between the buildings and created a restaurant.
It's rumored that pizzeria was the original Pizza Nova of the
Yeah. I don't know how accurate that is.
But if you see in the bathrooms, you'll see like the black tar marks from the ovens.
Oh, okay.
So my brother and I opened Birreria in 2016.
Yeah, I think you were looking at the place in 15.
So, 2016. So we just celebrated 9 years in that location, and have evolved that location. That location was eventually inherited by the landlord who owns the Royal Cinema, which is a historic cinema in Little Italy. Everybody knows it, has driven by it, used to play a lot of Italian films, in the 50s and 60s. And
Called the Pylon.
And then eventually became the Royal. So that space that Birreria was inherited by the landlord of the Royal. And during COVID, we switched up our business model a little bit and shifted towards more of a takeout model and grew a new business called Bottega Volo, which we moved into the lobby of the Royal during the end of the pandemic and to allow bars to open.
We were doing the beer for that, were we not?
Yeah,
Great Lakes
the Bottega,
Bottega,
And, I'll let Julian kind of speak more on the expansion of Bottega because it's part of the business he's a little bit more involved in. He can take it from there.
Yeah, the bodega was, was a pivot. Like a lot of restaurants and bars during the lockdown, the government granted us the ability to sell alcohol to go. For those that don't know, that Ontario is a little lagged with alcohol laws globally. I mean, we can't buy. It only took a pandemic to sell a bottle of wine out the door, and so that new law kind of changed our model quite significantly. Prior to this, I mean, Volo, we've also been importing beer and wine now for 20 years. Keep Six Imports. And so when the announcement had come about alcohol to go, I mean, Tom and I had spent an all-nighter. We built a web shop. We had professional photos done, and we basically loaded up the entire cantina at Birreria. We had a collection of just rare vintages of like Lambic and Farmhouse and Saisons. And it cleared pretty quickly. And so that kind of gave us that idea. I was like, okay, well, maybe we can just now, focus Keep Six now through this bodega. I mean, Keep Six is pretty much bodega, but with its own kind of focus on, elevated nut pantry items and tomato sauces and all.
We're going to touch on it a bit later on, but so that's the second. So you have Bar Volo, you have the
Birreria, and then we have Bottega.
And then what else do you guys have?
So behind the scenes, we run Keep Six Imports. So for a long time, we were primarily focused on importing kind of niche breweries from Belgium, the US, and France,
Quebec,
and that kind of complemented the. I guess the rotation of the Volo program is like the just in, just out, always rotating, having something new on the board. And that kind of blended in with like the framework of what Volo had become. And then while we were importing, we also had the idea of taking Ralph's beer festival, Cask Days, to like the next level. And then you guys talked about that a lot in your last podcast. But Cask Days started off as just a 100-person event on a patio on Yonge Street, and then it had elevated to the Brickworks, that saw 15,000 people in like 3 days. And we were importing kegs from around different regions in the States and the UK. And I mean, that was all. The Keep Six was the engine to kind of make that. So a lot of the projects that we do complement each other. And Thomas, what about Cask Days? How's that going?
Well, we're going to get to the Cask Days. So I just wanted to kind of set the stage that you guys are busy.
Are you doing the interview?
So what I want to ask now is, so now that you've got that all out there and this is all the things that you guys work on, Thomas, when someone asks you, what do you do for a living? What do you actually say?
I lie.
What do you say?
No, I'm joking. No, I say I'm a business owner. I think, sorry, maybe you can omit that. I have no idea. But no, I usually, when people ask me what I do for a living, I say I'm a small business owner or a business owner. I found myself in like tricky situations when I say specifically like what restaurant or bar I own. Usually it comes with like very positive feedback, but genuinely I try to avoid specifically saying I'm a bar, because it's what we do is very complicated to explain. But I'll say I'm a business owner, that I'm in hospitality.
Okay.
I say hospitality.
Yeah.
I mean, we're events, we're importing.
You're a bar, you're food.
Yeah, we do a lot of things.
Do a lot of different things.
There's definitely a good sense of entrepreneurship with what we're doing, and it's hard to kind of. Volo means to fly, by the way. So, we're always just changing behind the scenes and adapting to new ideas, and
you're traveling a lot too. So
a lot of our job is just simplifying and organization and idea generation, and
it's a tough question. But
so usually, I just asked a simple question: what do you tell people you do? And you guys are,
maybe we're making it more complicated.
So you have three of you that run the various aspects of the business, correct? You guys are more the day to day. I take it now. Like Ralph is. Is he day to day still, or he pops in and
PR?
Yeah, he's PR,
he's
and
PR.
He's the guy at the end of the bar having a pint of mild.
Ralph is still doing his quality control checks on the cask ales, and
quality control.
He might be the pickiest human about tomato sauce and olives. Most of our arguments are about tomato sauce. It's an interesting one, but he's kind of focused on just quality and just being Ralph and being around the bar.
But his knowledge and his experience, he's been, and Ina have been like just such a great kind of like go-to.
And Ina
like
is your mother.
Yeah. And any time there's a problem, like they're both are still involved in the business, and definitely guide us when help is needed and still have a lot of input. But
okay, so with all these things that you guys do, all the locations, the events, the Cask Days and the keepsakes, the proverbial org chart at Morana headquarters, how do you guys divvy up tasks, roles? Like, does someone look after Bar Volo and someone looks after Bodega? How does that work?
We're still actually in the midst of figuring that out ourselves. Okay. But what COVID did do was that Tom and Ralph lived closer to the Bar Volo location. I had lived closer to Birreria, and so that was just a natural separation at that point of time.
Yep.
Prior to that, I think we were all of us were managing everything together, which was a little chaotic sometimes. So, I mean, having that separation kind of established, I kind of more oversee Birreria and Bottega, and because Bottega is kind of entwined with Keepsix, I mean, I kind of oversee those components, and Tom oversees a lot of Bar Volo. I mean, the brewery with Chris and Cask Days, and I mean, a lot of the things that we do are all intertwined, so we're all like working on similar things. I mean,
but also, I mean, beyond just the family, we just have like an amazing team of staff and a few particular staff that have been with the company for a long period of time that have really helped us grow and have multiple locations. And so I'd be remiss to like not include those individuals, because, if it wasn't for our team, and we wouldn't be in this spot today to be able to have so many different projects and things going on.
So the quick answer is you still work on everything together, but there's a little bit more. Some of you work on different aspects of the business, but you're all working on the overall goal of elevating the Volo brand, if you will.
Sometimes, and I'm sure Thomas feels the same way with me, like I don't know what he's doing half of the time, and he can probably feel the same about me, but we're both doing something that we're kind of, we'll both have an idea or like a mini work project that we'll focus on and then just touch base at the completion of it or before it goes live, and so, I mean, we're always working. It's really tough to say what kind of day I wake up to. Am I waking up to Keepsix Day? Am I waking up to a bodega or a staffing?
Does that keep things interesting that there's so many different, like every day is different?
Absolutely. Yeah. It keeps things interesting. I mean, there's still like core principle values and operations that we do on a weekly basis. Got to remember too, like we've been running restaurants our whole life. Like
a long
we were
time.
basically born on a bar stool.
That's literally, one of the next questions that in February, the interview and the podcast with Ralph, I want to know about the early years. He talked about everything about starting up Volo, so it's there for everyone to listen to. But what's your earliest memory of beer culture growing up in that original location with Caffé Volo?
The first memory of beer culture, I remember the event at St. Lawrence Market and going there to try beers from Denison's and Church Key and Sergeant Major Scotch Irish and some of the old guys. I'm not sure if Bruce from Durham was part of that as well. But right across the St. Lawrence Market, they had a little brewers festival.
And were you of age though to do that?
I don't know. I don't know. I think so. I think
maybe just turned 19.
Maybe just turned 19. I mean, I was exposed to bar culture at a very young age, and and the beer scene was relatively new to me. I was kind of going into university as like beer culture was coming up, and that was like my first memory of it. But also just Ralph going off to Sutherland, England, and being and also Ina going off to learn about brew making and in Germany, and being like, oh, you got to run the bar while we're gone. I'm like, okay, no problem. And then just seeing that shift after was pretty amazing.
And Julian,
I have pretty much like two answers. I mean, I'm 3 years younger than Tom, so when the beer thing started happening, I mean, I was working mostly brunch shifts, so like I was like doing coffees and eggs and stuff like that, and then I started seeing like more of a rotation, and I guess the term beer ticker started coming in with their little notebooks.
Sammy?
And some people were recording on a device, like speaking about beer, so I thought that was unique. And then a big turning point for me was our parents. They were off this world discovery of beer, and they took Tom and I to Belgium, where we went to this like bar in Antwerp called Culminator, and it was like a little den of a pub, very dusty, with like old lambic and saison bottles. And I just remember the owner was just pulling things out of the cantina and just giving us these like rare treats, and that was like a really cool moment because I've never seen beer presented that way.
Well, also the menu too. They
the menu was a
huge
Bible
of beer, and just imagine like every vintage of Cantillon Creek for the last 10 years on the menu.
And I was 18, and so just like seeing beer served in this way of like an older person just like going into a cantina. I mean, that's what Birreria, the idea of Birreria is really based off that humble experience that we had as a family. So that was kind of a moment of time where Tom and I probably both realized that, school is cool, but I think Volo
this is
what
the
we're
way to
gonna
go.
do.
Yeah. So what's your earliest memory of the actual, like, being in Volo? Like working or just like watching your parents?
I remember when I was very little. I was I think Joy and I were home alone at this point, and we lived very close to the bar, and our parents
just down the road.
Yeah, our parents were both working, and I remember just wandering off to go see them. And it was a Friday night at Yonge and Dundonald, and back then there was a rock and roll club on the corner called the Gasworks. Some people might remember it was featured in Wayne's World. But back then, living close by to the Gasworks on a Friday night, there was like
interesting
50 Harley Davidsons lined up on the street. I mean, if you were walking on Dundonald in the early 90s, on a Friday night, there was like a row of Harleys. And so here am I, I'm a kid. I don't know. I'm maybe 7, 8, walking down past Harley's, past the Gasworks, and then walking into old Caffé Volo on a Friday night. It's busy, and I'm looking for my parents. I don't see them, and they're in the kitchen. I'm this like little kid walking through the bar, and I remember that moment, for the first time, but knowing like, oh, I knew they were there at this random restaurant at the corner where they worked, and that was probably my earliest memory. I don't know.
Uncle Carl was watching
it. For me, I remember back in the day, you could smoke in restaurants. So I remember there was carpet. My parents were into these like
there was carpet and
we had
Volo,
carpet.
Yeah?
There was my parents were into these like antiques. There was at one point of time, everything you saw at the bar had a price tag.
Okay,
so you could buy literally like the chair that you were sitting
amazing.
on, and it was really unique.
But did they ever bring you to those antique shows?
No.
You'd go to these antique shows.
Yeah, they had. I remember the badges that they used to.
Yeah, and they would haul like tables, chairs, because the thing is about selling the furniture in your restaurant.
You gotta make up for what you sold.
So for 1 second, you can literally. It was crazy. Actually, the concept of it is actually unreal, and someone should
that would
do
be
this.
Pretty amazing. Like you're sitting there and you're like, the food's good, the the wine's good, but I really like this chair.
Yeah,
and can you add that to my bill, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
The other component of memory was I was obsessed with virgin daiquiris. We had a blender and we did fresh fruit, and there was like this Italian miniature glass bottle, the apricot, the Yoppie, or I don't know what the name was, but
it was like the little
I
apricot.
used to always run behind the bar mid shift, and like, I don't know, who knows what the bartenders thought of me at the time. I'm like, make me a daiquiri, and that was definitely an early memory.
I've always wondered about that because it was 2006-07 when I first discovered Volo, and I was always, as kids who grow up in a restaurant, I was always curious about what your memories would be and your first memories. So thanks for sharing that. But was there any moment for either of you realized? So you said school is cool, but this is where you wanted to go. Was there any particular moment that you were sitting there, whether it's working or having a beer in Belgium or whatever, that you said, you know what, we're going to carry on the Volo name forever?
Yeah, I think there was a few moments for me. I think the big one, and I'm sure some people in the beer community might remember, like Stone Brewing Company.
Yep.
Stone, yeah.
Oh no, sorry. Out of
Escondido, California.
Yeah.
You know, at the time, you know, during the height of craft beer, Stone was, I think, you know, the pinnacle brewery that represented like the
everyone can remember their first taste of Arrogant Bastard.
But also they represented a very like aggressive take on craft beer. I think
and they were cool.
Oh, they
were really cool.
I don't think you were there, but you and I went to that beer dinner in Chicago.
Yes.
That Greg was there, and it was like a 3-way Denmark something, but Greg Jolly Pumpkin was the other
Jolly
one.
Pumpkin was there. So getting back to my story was I remember working with my dad and, you know, on trying to convince Greg to ship Stone beers to Toronto. And this was like an ongoing project. We would bump into Greg at random beer events in the world. And eventually he started to recognize us. And finally we were just like, hey, how about you ship us some beer? And he agreed to do it. And I'll never forget driving down with my dad to the old LCBO Specialty Services building at 33 Freeland Street, waiting on that dock and seeing that pallet of Stone beer coming out the
right beside
warehouse.
Peter Lapati.
Yeah, right beside Peter. Rest in peace. Coming out there and just loading the car, and I just like, I hadn't been that excited about, like, I was excited about what I was doing with my life with graphic design. I was like, damn, beer is exciting. I'm like, how can I like mold these two things together? I don't know if that specifically was the moment, but it's what comes to mind now is like, wow, this is exciting. Like, I want to be part of something like this. Like, I had no idea that beer could do that.
Well,
you know,
that was the first part of it. The second part, you threw that party, the Stone release party, if you will, at Volo, and that was one of the first where it was like, holy shit, this is really big now. And it was packed. It was packed in there. And I can remember that party. Like, everyone came.
Yeah, everybody
It
came.
started early, too.
Yeah.
There's a photo of all the empty bottles, too.
I was going to say, if I can recall, I didn't leave in very good condition that night.
I think we also got in the double bastard.
I think, but I think there was another time where you guys invited me and we just opened bottles. Maybe before that happened, and so it was like, oh, I've had all these beers, but I was just drinking the air. Anyway,
I do really miss that culture.
Yeah.
For me, it was we had, when we were importing, we had signed, you know, Dieu du Ciel, and we became really close with Dieu du Ciel and Stefan and JF, and there was a moment of time where like Tom and I started traveling with them without Ralph and Ina. Yeah. And that was like, okay, it was like, when's the next event? When's the next craft brewers conference? And I just remember going on tour with Dieu du Ciel, and these guys were like,
they're rock stars.
And I have to give Dieu du Ciel a lot of credit to introducing Volo to so many global names. And they helped us a lot with just connecting with people. And then it was that moment where we were like constantly going on trips with these guys. Yeah. I mean, they're like double our age.
Yeah.
And Luke at the time too.
From Godspeed. Yeah. So we used to travel the world. And that was the moment where like, I think our parents got us. We're like, okay, go on this trip, represent Volo, and that energy of going to a fair. And it got to the point where, I mean, one time, I don't know where we were, far away from North America. And we were at an event and someone said, oh, are you guys from Volo? And that was like an even wilder feeling.
I don't have that in this interview, but it's something that during that time period, Volo, and I said at the start, was a global, people knew Volo as like a global beer hangout. People were coming from different countries, and if they'd come to Toronto, they'd be like, we're going to Volo. It's the place where we got to go. But I've been with you both when we're in North America, like at a craft brewers conference, and Jean-Pierre or whoever from different Belgian breweries, they would come up and they'd be like, oh, these are my Volo friends. And we're like, oh, no, we know these guys. But you guys knew at one point, you guys were, you were right up there with like the importers of like, if you're working in Canada, these are the guys you got to work with for Ontario. So, all right, when the Volo, the OG Volo ceased to be, you guys ventured off to Little Italy. You two,
And Ralph.
yeah, and Ralph, but his heart was still broken.
Yeah.
He was trying to mend it. With
It was great.
So what was it like embarking on that mission to create something new, but trying to keep a little bit of the OG Volo intact?
I think by the time we had found Birreria, we had been working at Bar Volo pre-craft beer, during the craft beer boom, and we were also getting older, and we were also involved in wanting to contribute our own ideas to the space. And I think it got to a point where our ideas and what we wanted to do outgrew, 587 Yonge Street.
Yeah.
When we going into Birreria, it was just like, it was really nice kind of having a clean slate to work with.
Because the old Volo was falling apart. It was so old.
Yeah.
It was really nice
But
to have
I
like
think-
a clean slate.
That's true, but I think that's what attracted the regulars. Like, that's why it's so beloved, because it was their falling apart place. It was their, but it not even a falling apart place, but it was well loved. It was broken in.
It was rough around the corners. It
Yeah.
was well loved, and it had a lot of history there.
Yeah,
and
that
it's
patio held a lot of history.
a lot of
Dundonald.
history,
Yeah.
and that's one thing. If you're thinking about opening up a restaurant or a bar, it's like the one thing you can't buy is
Yeah.
time and
Yeah.
history, and that's, to me, I think, like the most like precious and valuable thing about a bar is like how many people have walked through the door and had drinks on the wood bar.
Yeah.
And
But you guys took that aspect and you made it into something new. So it's brand new space, brand new look, but at the same time, you incorporated the history into that space on a cleaner slate. So what was it like trying to tie the two together?
I think, like as Tom mentioned, we had so many new ideas that kind of outgrew the space. I mean, we were both in our 20s, so I mean, not everyone liked it, but we were bartending Friday, Saturday night, like blasting techno and like rap music. And we had changed, we shifted and we started bringing in DJs, local DJs lineup. So when Bar Volo kind of ended, we were like, wow, this energy that we built would be really cool in a new space. And from a beer standpoint, I mean, we were really into farmhouse and lambic beers. And we started importing it, and we were experimenting a lot at Bar Volo with Funk Night and seeing the success with Funk Night and Cantillon. So the idea of opening up an even more niche concept with those styles in mind. I mean, I think the biggest change that we had done was introducing like almost the vinification of beer, where we were serving beer in a wine glass, and that wasn't really well
Some people didn't
received
like that,
but I mean, that was what was really exciting for us, was cracking like 6, 7, 8 bottles and pouring lambic or oxbow.
Yeah.
I mean, by the glass, like that seemed really.
we wanted to
unique.
pay respect to the history of Volo, but Birreria, in a lot of ways, was never meant to like fill the shoes of Volo. It was meant to be like an evolution in its own kind of place, but still, we wanted to still retain and embrace the culture that it had created. And it was challenging, not only from a conceptual standpoint, but a spatial standpoint. Like it's very different, very different.
And at the same time, Rolf was still talking. He would say publicly that he wasn't looking for another Volo, but he was looking for another Volo.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
so
there were
like,
two
yeah.
other locations that
Yeah.
were very close to signing that fell through at the last minute. So
Yeah, Birreria was never intended to
be Volo 2.
to
Yeah,
be Volo
yeah.
2, and
And I think a lot of people saw it that way because
Yeah.
there was a gap between.
How I saw it, and some of the other people in the industry saw it, is this is the brothers going out to make their mark. Would you guys say that's a fair assessment of?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in the logo.
Yeah.
It's two brothers holding up a barrel. And that's what it was. It was sort of like our, with our experience and what we took from learning Ralph's vision of Volo, and it was our interpretation.
And the essence of what Ralph and Ina had accomplished on Young was still in Birreria. It was just presented,
In
I think,
your
a
way.
little finer.
In a
Little
your
differently.
way, yeah. So you just mentioned the logo, like the two brothers in the barrel, but you both play such a crucial role in the look, the vibe, and a lot of the curation yourselves, like from this is the bar we're going to use, this is the look we're going to have. Can you touch on that? Because Thomas, I know you did a lot of graphic design. You mentioned that you're doing school for it, but a lot of the art has always been you, right? Like the graphic stuff.
The overall like direction of like the branding and the aesthetics of the bar, whether it's like print or 3D, everyone in the family's been involved in it. I've definitely like spearheaded a lot of the direction, and I've worked with several artists over the last couple of years to kind of bring that together. My background is graphic design, but a place like Birreria was actually the first time I was able to design something in 3D in a space. And so we didn't work with designers. That was all us sourcing materials, drawing it in Illustrator. But the actual like graphics and a lot of the branding you see today is we work with Kellen Hatanaka. We've been working with quite some time. I actually went to university with him and reached out when we opened Birreria to help us with the brand of that in Cask Days. And we also work with Arcade, who does a lot of the typographic components that you see in the bar. But the direction is really kind of spearheaded by a vision that I'm trying to create.
And then in the past, the old days, all those like IPA challenge and cast, there was
definitely a period of time where I was doing all of the visual graphics. And then it just got to a point where it was tough. It's tough because for me to hunker down and illustrate and take the time to do that is very difficult. But even to this day, I do all of the graphic work, but the actual like drawing of the illustrations, like for example, if we're looking at this can, the artist would do the graphic. I would still put together the actual label and the menu. So it's designed in a different way. But
and I think my question was like you do everything with intention at every space that you're in. So the Bottega has a certain look, has a certain feel, has a certain vibe, and that's intentional. You guys are working on that all the time, and it is unique. I hate to have that cheesy question, but where do you draw the inspiration from?
Well, we were just speaking before about how Ralph and I used to sell every furniture piece at the bar. I think that
I love that story, by the way. I didn't know that.
Essence, but that kind of feeling of going out and discovering something that's antique and salvage had really played a big role with how we built the new Bar Volo and Birreria. I mean, building Birreria was a 9 months of Tom, Ralph, and I going to these door shops and these antique shops. Like, oh my God, that would be so cool for a bar facing. Oh, what was this? Yeah, this was a pharmacy wall that got bombed in the war. Like, that's our bar facing, you know? Bar Volo's an 18th century Egyptian door. I mean, it was just really cool collaborating with family and saying, oh, that would look cool here. And to answer your point, I mean, Volo is still being added to. I mean, we're still changing it. I mean, I don't think we're ever satisfied with the way it looks.
Why do you think that is a draw for customers? Or is it just something that you guys want?
I think as important as the quality of the food and the quality of the drink and the beer that you're drinking, it's also how it's presented in the space. And I've always, in my mind, like I've always tried to look at hospitality in a creative approach, where, you know, how can we do something different? How can we serve this beer differently? How can we create an environment that's different than a typical brew pub, from the lighting, the music, the table,
no chords.
I think there is intention behind it, and I think it adds to the overall experience. And I think it is important because, I mean, just looking at Instagram for an example, when you have a space that's beautiful to drink in, I feel like it really attributes to the drink and the beverage.
Yeah.
And, yes, people post about it and they feel good in the space. And that's part of it. You're creating an experience, not just with the beverage and the food, but with the space. And I think approaching hospitality and restaurants in that light is something that I think we like to do.
And do you draw a lot of inspiration from travel? Because you guys do travel a lot. And you have traveled a lot.
I would say a lot of it is travel.
Yeah.
Just being inspired by other places. I think now, there's a point of time if Tom and I went to like a new city or something, it was just like, oh, hey, this is the list. This is, they're good at this, they're good at that. And now as we get older, we're appreciating more of like the timeless, like family run institutions, like the old world bakeries and the cafes, and like the energy of that is like, how do you get that? And what I think, how I look at our spaces now is like they're living. It's just like it's always evolving. It's always evolving. So we can't just like give you that and then just it can't just be like that. You know what you don't know is that there's multiple changes happening to Birreria soon, and it's like, why would you change the space? But
are there? Maybe you want to tell us?
No, just more from like just an like aesthetic feel. Like we're also getting older, so like
your tastes are changing, and
our tastes are changing. Maybe we want a little bit more comfort. I don't know.
But to answer your question on my side is like, it definitely is drawn from travel, seeing what other places are doing. Sometimes it's just a picture.
Yeah.
Like both Brewery or a little random sketch I do in my notebook. Like if you ask like certain contractors and people that we worked with to build the bars, like it's always me referencing this like one little photo of something random that doesn't even look like a bar or anything. I'm like, this is the vibe. Yeah. This is the color palette. This is the material. And so I fixate on that, and I really try to approach the spaces from like a design and artistic and creative standpoint, because that's the part of this that I really love too. Yeah.
And like for me, I oversee like the food program a lot with we work with Ralph on that. But when we opened up Birreria, we didn't have a kitchen. And one fond memory was Ralph and I were in Sardinia once upon a time, just looking at some wineries there, and we went to this little wine shop that was like very, very tiny, and they had a food menu on the wall, and it just said, hot sardines. And I was like, all right, I don't see a kitchen around here, like let's just get that. And the guy took a fish tin, he threw it in the dishwasher. It came out boiling hot. He opened up the can, plopped it on the plate, put some salt, parsley, olive oil, gave me some bread, and I looked at Ralph, and I was almost in tears of how amazing that was. Yeah. And so I was like, how can we do this in Toronto?
Yeah.
And that memory really stuck with me about, approaching food from a design point of operations, and how do we execute really simple, unfussy dishes within a space. And Birreria is a little
fish tins and dishwashers.
Yeah. So Volo 2.0. Can I say that? Volo 2.0?
Sure, maybe like 4.0.
Yeah. So you mentioned it's at 17 St. Nicholas Street, not too far from the OG location. At this spot today focuses more on brewing house beers.
Yes.
A lot more. So what led you to this change, serving having a lot of Ontario beers to a lot more Volo house-made beers?
Yeah, I think the history of us making beer definitely started with Ralph's passion of making beer. And
I remember
beer.
that system trying to get it in. Yeah.
One barrel.
And Ralph, pushing the boundaries a little bit, and kind of, and when I think back on it, I think it's kind of amazing, like looking at a nano brewery as an extension of a kitchen in a way. And so just to give context, the brewing component of Volo started with a nano brewery, kind of an advanced home brewer's little brew kit inside the kitchen of Volo, brewing, was it 100 liters at a time, 150 liters at a time of cask beer. And then, so I think brewing our own beer was always on the radar, and we just weren't able to do it in the original space location. And so when we were looking to reopen Bar Volo 2.0, a big part of that was, how do we get a brew system in here that's a little bigger, how do we make more beer and switch into that direction, because I think inevitably when you start serving a lot of craft beer and traveling for craft beer and learning more about it, I think, it leads to a road of wanting to make your own.
Yeah.
And, with Bar Volo, it's actually like a truly remarkable story. And I give a lot of credit to Chris Evans, our brewer, who, learned how to professionally brew on his own during COVID.
Yeah.
He started homebrew, and I've known Chris for a long time. He's bartended. He's helped us with Cask Days. He's been part of Keep Six. He's worn every hat in the company. And then when COVID came around, he started to I think he always did homebrew, but I think he started to homebrew more seriously.
Yeah.
And then once Bar Volo was opening and Ralph had an intention of, bringing brew equipment in, Chris came on board and just learned everything on his own and took all of his homebrew knowledge and just started brewing on the system there. And it was truly incredible, honestly. I think Chris makes incredible beer
and that's where collaboration comes into effect too, because he was brewing with Ian McCustra, Bim. He was brewing with Lackey. I think he's brewed with a lot of people. Matt Tweedy. And,
we've had to, except for our 40th anniversary collab, we had to talk and slow down the collabs a little bit because it was interfering with our core brands.
But at the same time, he was learning a lot. He was learning a lot from these brewers who've been doing it for a long, long time and had their own tips and tricks.
But that kind of takes us back to when Ralph was doing it. Ralph didn't have production brewery background, but he went to school, and it was all about collaborating and learning from others within the space.
Yeah, you had Russ and Eric. They were the beer guys.
Yeah, I mean, there's an alumni of and which we brought all of our brewers from the past to do the 40th.
Oh yeah.
So we brought Jason Tremblay, who's part of Two Moons now, John
Hudd,
Radical Road, Russ and Eric from Beer Gotter, Mike Cheatley.
Cheatley,
Cheatley, I think he's
Kawartha now,
Well, I think he's brewing at Publican House.
Well, which they took over. It's called Kawartha. Kawartha Lakes. They got the name back. Yeah, so it's full circle. That was cool. So tell me the food program. We talked about this. It's the best mortadella sandwich in the city. I love it. But this is at Bar Volo food, right?
They all have
the same now. Yeah.
I mean, I think one of the toughest things about being a restaurant and expanding is creating a menu that is the same across all our locations, and making sure all the ingredients are the same and you're buying the same cheese and bread and all that. I just think over time, our menu has always changed. We started really strong with Ralph, when they had the restaurant, it was a lot of pastas. It was a lot of scratch kitchen. They made everything in-house. When Tom and I kind of took over the management side of things, we kind of started to use more of a cookie cutter approach where we sourced our ingredients from other chefs in the city. I mean, once upon a time, we used to get mustard from Guy Rawling, and Grant Van Gameren used to make us salami from his basement, and Powell from Peachy Clucks had a big part of the food program. So it was all about outsourcing, and then we would assemble together. And over the years, we've just been assembling, and now we've kind of dialed in our focus now as sandwiches and pizza. I mean, they're just easy to manage.
Yeah.
And as long as we just find the right ingredients. I mean, Volo, in a sense, we've always been middlemen, we're always curating other good products made by other people, whether that's through Keep Six, that's through Volo beer rotation. To talk about a little bit about the production brewery, I mean, that's essentially the first time that we're actually responsible for that. So that project kind of scares at least Tom and I, because we're not used to that.
Yeah.
And that kind of goes for the food as well. I mean, we're not, we make dressings and sauces in house, but other than that, I mean, it's about sourcing the best that we can find and putting it together.
Well, again, the mortadella sandwich, if you've never had it, go get it.
Yeah, that's a good sandwich.
So we talked a little bit about the Bottega. So just maybe summarize what's going on there now, because it's an exciting thing. It's very unique for not only Toronto, but North America, for sure, Canada.
It's incredibly unique, and just being in a historic cinema and is unique in itself. I mean, there's not many cinemas like the Royal left in Toronto that are operating that aren't a Shoppers Drug Mart or something else to that effect. And so having an opportunity to grow a business in such a unique like Art Deco and historic part of the city that also speaks to our culture and that many of our ancestors in the Italian community were also part of, I think it was huge. And I think what started off as like a pandemic pivot bottle shop, it's hard to explain to people what we're doing now because we've got, not only are we like a full service bottle shop selling beer, wine, pantry, online, Uber, in store, you can shop, have beer and wines to go. You can enjoy the entire selection on site. You can sit on our patio. We're building out seating inside the lobby as well.
Yeah. Just to touch back on the history, Chin Radio is in Little Italy. And Johnny Lombardi, the father, was primary reason why the Italians had like European media in the city. And so that's how Little Italy became Little Italy, because all the Italians wanted to live near where they can get their Italian news.
Yeah.
And so they utilized the pylon with Italian film. And so it was really cool to have the opportunity to kind of maybe go back to the roots of that cinema and add it with like a modern Italian twist. And so when we had taken over, we subleased the lobby of the Royal because the theaters were closed for lockdown was longer for theaters than restaurants. So to help subsidize the rent, we had convinced the landlord, you know what, we started Bottega. It's like this new thing. It would be a shame to stop this. Let's get it in the lobby just to keep the theater busy. Yeah. And that was a 5-year lease. And Tom and I, as of May 2025, we've now taken over that space direct with landlord. We've taken over 606, which was an old jewelry store. And we just signed a 15-year lease.
Oh, congratulations.
So what you see now is kind of been temporary because we didn't know after that 5 years what was going to happen. The Royal has kind of taken a step back from doing in-house curation. They used to do a lot of like indie films. They're now more third party as an event space. So the Royal still remains as they manage the auditorium. They manage all of the events. I mean, now they're tapping into production residencies with Hallmark, with Star Wars, did like this burlesque show last year and comedy festivals. So it's really cool that we're essentially providing the concessions for this cinema. And Thomas briefly discussed, but we're flipping the lobby into kind of like an Italian cafe. It's going to be like sit down,
always adapting,
grab and go,
never stopping.
Yeah, and the bottle shop is moving next door. But you had asked a question about, what's it like making your own beer, and I don't know if you asked us about the rotation of different breweries. I mean, we're still doing that essence of that rotation, but it has translated a little bit more in the Bottega now. It just kind of makes more sense because we've committed to making our own beers. I mean, Hunter is our beverage director for all Volos, so she's really taken a lead on keeping a pulse of the local scene. I mean, she's on top of new releases every Thursday, Friday. Bottega still has local rotation aggressively, just like the olden days. And
on tap too. I mean, both bars we have at least 6 to 8 rotational lines at both of the bars still.
And I think, it's the Volo today has just adapted to, current survivability.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
COVID kind of made sense. Like the death of a beer bar. I don't know who wrote that article about Thirsty and Miserable. It was on Tap Magazine.
Yeah, I can't remember, but I remember.
But that article really had some
resonated
because it's just like that niche bar where you go to that pub and try a new release. Kind of.
Well, Thomas actually even said he misses that culture, like that fun culture that back in. I hate to say it, I say to my staff all the time, well, 10 years ago, this is how it used to be. I wish you could have experienced the industry back then, but it really was. It was so much fun. You got to meet so many new people. There were so many things happening across the city, but everyone was there, and you guys were a big part of that. And today it's a little, the yarn is further away. You have to really tug on it to get people to come back and become those regulars.
Well,
And
it was also the American boom of like dropping an IPA at the brewery that changed the culture, moving away from the bar. Now I'm going direct to the brewery because way back when, I mean, no one went to breweries to buy beer. They went to the bars. So,
very true, very true. But people that were going to the bars were going there for not only just the beer, but the community. And some of those days we're bringing back GLB Beer Week because we want to bring the social back to beer. We want people to go out and drink beer with each other. We want, they always say beer is the social lubricant that brings people together. We want to bring that back. And I think with all the locations, with doing your own beer, with supporting local breweries, with getting people coming to the cinema or to the theater and doing or experiencing what you guys are trying to do, I think that is, you guys have always created a whole new demographic of beer drinkers, whether it's the old cask drinkers to the new with the big events of the Brickworks to these new locations that are a little more on the sour side or the vine, you said the vine culture, like the wine beer hybrids. You're introducing people to new things. And I think that's always been something that you guys are respected for, that you might not even know about, that you're always evolving. You're always going after not the trend, but what you guys think is the right decision for your business moving forward.
One of, just to speak on that real quick, Troy, was one of the best pieces of advices I've ever gotten as a business owner was in the bar business is someone turns 19 every day.
Yeah.
And it's so true because, and it's like, we can talk about, the good old days and how craft beer used to be. And, it is very different now. And, it just feels like there's a responsibility to try to, share those past experiences and educate people about how we got here. Like, I remember a time where there was no craft beer on tap anywhere. Now, people who are, starting university and turning 19, they're spoiled.
Yeah.
You can go.
You got Great Lakes on. Oh my God.
No, it's like, I remember you had to look for craft beer.
Yeah.
You had to venture across the city to find it. And so it's so different now. I can only imagine as someone who's like a new bar drinker and likes to go out and is just used to, all these new breweries.
Imagine in 2006, just picture that again. You guys were young. We were all young. And you think of, okay, we got Volo. We have Say What. We have the Granite. We have Academy of Spherical Arts. We have Beer Bistro.
Beer Bistro, yep.
The only cafe was just coming into itself then with craft. But really think about that. Now think about what today looks like in Toronto alone. It's just, it's a mind-boggling thing. So we're going to get into Cask Days now because you guys have the 19th ish annual Cask Days coming up October 3rd to the 5th at Volo, Bar Volo. But before we get into this year's edition, can you walk me through the history of Cask Days? Very brief history, if you will.
Started in 2005.
2005. Yeah.
2005.
Yeah, I got this here. The first one, 22 casks from 15 breweries.
Yeah, started in 2005 on the original Volo's patio, celebrating cask beer. It took place on Volo's patio for a few years, and then eventually it outgrew the space. We moved it to the Hard House, and then from the Hard House, we moved it for several years at Evergreen Brickworks. The year before the pandemic, I think it reached its kind of pinnacle of volume of beers. I think
we had over
400
over 400 casks,
400
from over
casks.
160 breweries,
and close to 15,000 people.
Yeah.
It was a lot. And, and now, there was a bit of a brief sort of pause with the pandemic and events. And I don't know if there was an appetite on our standpoint to do the festival at that scale. Also, I don't know if there was an appetite in beer culture.
Yeah.
Because beer festivals, I feel like hit.
They have. Yeah.
They hit a plateau where I don't know if everybody wants to go to an event with that many people drinking hundreds of different options.
I think the pandemic, though, had changed the landscape.
Yeah, for sure.
People started realizing they can drink at home, and why go to a festival? And they had access to different beers, so why try something new?
You know who I think killed the beer festival or the beer events? Breweries. Because they all do their own now. We're doing a brewed for you festival at Great Lakes, but throughout the year, breweries are just doing their own activations, and it's killed a little bit of that festival vibe, that event vibe. But Cask Days became a very big, global. It was a global beer event. You said 15,000 people came to drink cask condition ale in Toronto.
And dance and drink food and play ping pong.
Outside of the UK, it was the largest cask festival in the world. Is that not insane to think about today?
I think we pushed the boundaries of what cask conditioned beer.
And you change people's perspective of what beer is, what cask conditioned beer is.
It also was turning to an event that wasn't just about beer.
Oh, of course. People were coming for the DJs. People were coming for those Scotch eggs were just amazing. The one year, I think it was Guy Rawlings that did those Scotch eggs.
Oh, I don't remember.
Yeah, those were at the
food program was really cool.
Yeah, it was really good. Those brewers' breakfasts were the best. Those were the best parts of Cask Days. But so you have one coming up. It's a lot smaller than they used to be. But so what's going on?
We wanted to keep the history and the essence of the event going. Obviously, going from its roots on a patio and scaling up to the brickworks and scaling down is a radical shift, but I think it's appropriate for where things are. Also, a lot of people ask, "Oh, why don't you do this festival at that scale anymore?" And I tell people, it's like, well, we have 3 locations and we all have kids now. When we were doing Cask Days at the Brickworks, we only had one bar. We didn't have a brewery. We didn't have an import company to this degree. And so we had a lot more time on our hands to plan a festival at that size. But I think it was important for us to continue the tradition, regardless of the scale. And we have our 19th year coming up. We've got 40 casks, around 30 breweries.
So I was going to ask though, like with the industry changing and the evolution of what we just talked about, why do you keep? Is it just tradition that you want to keep it going?
Thomas's answer was a little sugar coated. I think like the idea of doing a large scale event after the pandemic changed our opinion. If we want to, it became a lot more of a liability, and then also there's a lack of venue spaces in the city. And, Toronto wanting to be this, top city in the world. We literally we don't have the proper venues. That would execute this as well as the Brickworks had done for us.
It also became very expensive to run.
Prior to the pandemic happening, the Brickworks was not even going to continue Cask Days. And that was a decision that was made in January before lockdown. So we were actively looking for a new space regardless of lockdown or not. And I just think COVID kind of made us reset. We had to prioritize, the bars first and our families, like, everyone else probably did with their careers. And right now it's back in its old roots. And I think it's nice to reset, but I don't know about you. I'm getting an itch.
Okay.
Getting an itch. Yeah. And 20 sounds like a big number, so I don't know. We'll see. Thomas and Ralph and Chris kind of manage the Cask Days now at Bar Volo, and hey, it doesn't require 8 months of work.
When you've done it to that scale, you're always going to have you're always going to have the itch to do it again, and it's really a nice time of year, and I love how communal, I like how intimate it is, even though it's in a much smaller space. Like, no one's lining up. We're not advertising it and promoting it in the same way,
We also have had Cask Days in a storage space for like
Yeah.
6 years,
Yeah.
dying.
Yeah.
You know, we still own 400 firkins.
Yes.
So like we ask ourselves every year, looking at the storage fees, they keep going up, just like, what the heck
are we
going
gonna
to
do with these? Yeah.
And it's just like, we're scared to, because if we get rid of those firkins, Cask Days that we once knew in that scale is possibly gone.
I talked with Rolf about this, that he really rejuvenated cask. He made it a well-known thing in Ontario because it wasn't a thing, and to see it go, if it ever was to go, it slowed down a lot over the years. But I still believe in it. I still think having it at Volo is the best option. I think it's more intimate. It's going to create that beer culture. It's going to do that, you know, the Lion King circle of life. We were talking about kids watching Disney movies or whatever earlier, but it's circle of life. It's coming back to its roots, and the brewers are all excited. I missed last year, but I heard all the stories because people were genuinely excited that it's back to where it used to be, and the respect for the liquid is back to where it used to be. So when I'm there this week, I want to know what can we expect? We talked about the beers, but what can people expect? Like just good beers and meeting the brewers, or?
Well, people will expect to walk down a brick laneway downtown Toronto and stumble across 40 barrels of beer on a Cafe Tio patio on the side of a historic condo building. There'll be 40 different beers to choose from. We'll have a DJ. We'll have good food, good vibes, and I just think it's a recipe for a good time.
Nice.
It's also it's walk-in.
Yeah.
So I know some people are concerned about like, because there's not like tickets and there's not set times. I mean, all we can say, arrive early. You know, we don't normally have a wait. The wait usually happens like late in the evening, like Friday 8 o'clock.
It's casual.
It's super casual.
If I show up at the back door with a delivery, can I sneak through? And
always.
Always.
What are your favorite memories? If you can name one favorite memory from all the Cask Days throughout the years.
My favorite memory.
One of my favorite ones was watching you collect all the tickets when you were just.
This memory is shared between Thomas and I. It was early days, like one of the first 2 years at the Brickworks, and we had just invested into ticket scan technology, and the Wi-Fi was wonky. It was Friday or Saturday night. It was a busy one. Line up outside, pouring rain. And our staff were like, the tickets are not scanning. And like people are getting upset because it's rain, and we had to just like fake the scan.
Come on in.
We had to, and it's nerve-wracking because it was just like, what do we do?
Yeah.
We can't admit people properly. And that memory of just like the fear of just like not like
You could taste metallic in your mouth. It was that
but also it was just like an internal story that I will remember of just being like, holy crap, like we've committed to this like huge event, and like something like technology has failed us, and it was like we're working so hard to like just make it the best it can be, and that was probably one of my favorite memories.
Thomas?
My favorite memory, believe it or not, is always at the end of a session, particularly the Saturday night session. Once everything's said and done, there's great memories meeting people, familiar faces, and brewers and regular customers. But what people didn't see was once the Saturday night session ended, all the staff and the entire Cask Days team,
all of our friends,
everybody involved in the event would just do a big like cheer and clap. Like we just executed this insane event. And we would actually get to enjoy the event for an hour empty,
more than
with all our friends and all the staff. And I always looked forward to that moment. And then we would take the party to Farside on Queen Street. We would get dumplings across the street.
Yeah,
we would order Labatt 50s.
Cask Days after party.
And we would do the Cask Days after party. And believe it or not, I always looked forward to it because it was just something about celebrating that with the team.
Yeah.
Sunday was not good.
Sunday was never good.
The $5
No,
the
just
pours?
like celebrating and then just.
But it was always the Saturday night session. That was always my favorite memory.
I want to talk about the future of Volo, the future of Volo Enterprises, or the Empire. By extension, you guys, the Moranas, you've always felt ahead of the curve. So how do you stay innovative without chasing trends?
Stop looking at Instagram.
Yeah.
No, I'm serious. I mean, I think one thing that I learned early on, just as like someone, like, I started before I was into hospitality, I was into art and making my own art. And I think one of the biggest and most important things that I've tried to focus on is really not pay too much attention to what's going on in the industry through the scope of Instagram and through the scope of what's on social media, because I feel like it actually hinders your ability to be what you want to be as a company.
Yeah.
If you're constantly chasing what other
Or
people are, or comparing
to
yourself or what other, because things are never as good as they seem on social media. And so I think it's really important, to stay focused on your goal and allow yourself like the space without those distractions. And I mean that honestly, like
it's a great answer.
I personally don't, I'm a little bit off the pulse in the beer industry. And, unless I'm going out to a brewery or I'm going out to a bar and I'm seeing it firsthand, but I deliberately don't follow or look at things on social media because I feel like it hinders my ability to grow my company and do new things.
I think, like Thomas says, I mean, we've kind of disconnected from the pulse of like what other people are doing. Yeah. And we're kind of just focusing on things that what we just want to achieve with our careers.
What you like. And
I mean, a big part for me, and I think him as well, is we're starting a lot of like internal projects of like white labeling Volo products through the bodega, and
I've had some of them. Your dad gave me some, and they're quite delicious.
We just started a food import company, so we're going to be bringing in olive oil and like pastas and pantry goods. And
what about sardines?
Fish importation is tough. There's a lot of red tape.
What about dishwashers?
No. But just kind of creating our own. We got a couple of cool wine projects that we're working on in Europe, which is really fun. And we're trying to just go a little beyond like the vision within our stores and just kind of still trying to be connected with a global community has always been important. Right now we're like really in the wine world, and wine is fun at the moment for us, and we're still doing beer. It's just I mean, like the future of Volo is just continuing what we do. And I mean, I think
it sounds like it's what the Moranas have always done. Just evolve.
Bottega seems like something that we can expand on. I mean, I don't know about Tom, but opening up another bar is going to be tough. Yeah. It's just, it's a lot of work.
You already got a number of locations. You don't need to. But so 10 years from now, though, what do you think the Volo family of brands, what do you want them to have achieved, and what's the legacy?
Oh, that's a tough question.
I think a moment that hit us was our 40th anniversary was this year. And I mean, Tom and I, our kids are maybe like 9-10 months apart. And if by the time Tom and I are Ralph's age, our kids will be our age. And that was like a really cool, something to look forward to.
And is that something like it's active in your thoughts that the kids will...
I mean, we just signed a 15-year lease, so they're involved.
All right.
I mean,
it might be. Listen, it might be nice, but
I'm gonna go the old school way, what my parents did. Yeah, we're getting them involved as much as we. I mean, if they want to do something else.
Yeah.
I think like when you hit the year 40, and then 50 is the next benchmark, and then like it would be tough to like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, it'd be,
you're entering new waters.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's just like
you're thinking about your future,
but also finding comfort in just an autopilot, like consistent mode. You know, there is definitely something exciting about always doing something new, but I think especially now
refining,
refining, and also it's like, you know, bar beer, drink, food culture, it's simple,
Yeah.
you know, and it is timeless and
simple but hard to execute.
it is, but there's a simplicity to it. And I think, I hope we can keep it that way for years to come.
Okay, so last question before we head into the rapid fire questions. I asked Ralph this question, and when he was on the show, so I asked him, how proud does it make you as a father and now a grandfather, or a nona? No. I always get that. I always fuck that up. As a no-no, that your sons, Thomas and Julian, are both carrying on the family business. So I asked him that. That's when he got emotional. When he got emotional about your the grandsons. So I want to reverse it a bit and ask you, how proud are you two to carry on the legacy of what he started and your mother started so many years ago?
I mean, I'm very proud. You know, it's great to be part of a family business, part of a community, and to be in a city like Toronto for this long and
survive walking down Dundonald on a Friday night.
Yeah, and just be part of something so special. And I really appreciate everything that they've done for us. They've created an amazing platform, and I think it's a great opportunity for a new generation to sort of like take the torch and take it in a direction, and hopefully, and it might be possible that our kids might do that one day too. I think it's great. I really like the idea of institutions. I think it's hard in Toronto and the surrounding area now for institutions to survive. And after 40 years, I really want to lean into that more. And, to say that we were established as a brand in 1985, like that's huge. It's 40 years. It's a long time. Right. And, we've been doing this for almost 20 now. And I think that's important. I think, legacy is important, and I think having an institutional brand is key, and really happy to be part of it.
Nice. And Julian?
Yeah, like Tom said, just trying to remain humble. We're super proud of what we've done, and the trick is just keeping it as simple and matching that simplicity to our lifestyle, and just don't. You just got to keep trying. You got to keep going. And, Thomas used the word autopilot. That's tough.
Yeah.
Autopilot's tough because the world's changing every single day. And, you can get caught up thinking that, you should be doing this, you should be doing that. And, when we get into these like flustered moments, then I kind of remind myself like, oh man, like we're managing 50 people now, 50 employees. We used to have teams of 8 and 6. Yeah.
And you were 2 of them.
Yeah. And like what we realized is like, just like really just keeping the culture alive, not even with the community, but actually with like keeping staff culture, I think is really important for us. And I hope we can maintain that staff culture as much as possible, because that's just the energy that has kind of allowed us to get to where we are today.
Nice. So we're going to hear from our pet Octo, and we'll be right back with some rapid fire questions. Hang tight.
Hey peoples, Octo here. I like a good punch-up from time to time, but after too many donuts lately, I gotta get down to my proper poundage. So my sparring partners at GLB brewed a beer just for me, Fighting Weight Session IPA. Big flavor, but it's 3.6% ABV and only 100 calories. It's the perfect beer between training sessions, then get back to some truculent head busting. Fighting Weight Session IPA from GLB, now at the LCBO and select beer stores across Ontario. Hey, losing a few never tasted so good.
So that Fighting Weight is now available across Ontario at LCBOs and select beer stores, at the brew pub, at the retail store, all over the place, and at bars and restaurants. 3.6% and 100 calories, which is great for someone like me. Okay, rapid fire questions with Thomas and Julian. What beer have you been enjoying recently?
Peroni Capri.
Okay.
Glass bottle, clear, ice cold. Love it.
Corona with a lime.
Oh Jesus!
Yeah,
your dad's listening to this right now. Your dad just drove off the road while listening to this. Ralph, if you're still listening, I'll deal with them after. Name one brewery that's consistently impressed you. And again, you guys are like global, so it doesn't matter. Anyone, name one brewery.
I'm going to just go with the timeless. I mean, I still think Cantillon is cool.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't drink lambic as much as I used to, but the idea that it's still a museum and it's holding on a piece of culture and that a lot of people aren't really into right now, I think is
and
really
you guys have obviously done the
admirable.
tours in the basement with Jean.
Yeah, I
Laval,
mean, just like
it's
that whole
unbelievable, yeah.
experience at that place is really cool. And if they can keep that going for the next 100 years, like hats off. to
Yeah,
them.
yeah. Thomas?
Oh, that's a tough question. I feel so off the pulse of like beer industry now, but I have to also agree with Julian. I think like in terms of like a timeless brewery that from the moment I stepped in to this moment that I'm still genuinely curious and interested in what they're doing, it's definitely Cantillon.
And I think his kid's involved more actively these days as well. too.
Yeah, and watching
They're
that.
also doing, I know this is rapid, but they're doing a lot of cool wine hybrid collabs with like pretty sought after natural wine producers, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
And it's the merger of those worlds, and maybe that's
It's a
something.
100-year-old company saying, "Where's the next 100 years going to be?" So
Yeah.
that's cool.
Also, if I wanted to give us up, this is rapid, but Sierra Nevada, I think is like very, very cool what they've accomplished, what they've done, everything I've tried, even having a Sierra Nevada Pale Ale now. It was like in Vegas a couple months ago, and I got one of these like super tall cans.
Yeah,
I don't know if you've seen them.
The
Sierra Nevada.
the Magnums or the King cans. or whatever.
I couldn't finish it. I couldn't drink it fast enough. It was a little warm, but I was impressed.
It's impressed. Yeah. Name a person or brewery in the industry that continues to inspire you. Well, would you say Cantillon again?
No, continues to inspire.
Yeah, that's
Are we talking about the brewing industry
Yeah, as name a person or brewery in the industry.
that inspires? That's a tough question.
It's a tough question. Just because, I mean, for the record, I just feel like the community has like disconnected.
Yeah.
So it's tough to like kind of know what other people are up to. But I still think it's cool that like Dieu du Ciel is still, I mean, they just celebrated a big milestone anniversary, and it's cool that they've been able to evolve, and they might not be as like current in the Quebec brewing world, but like they're still doing what they do. And, I do like that.
They're like the GLB. Like, we're not the cool kids on the block anymore, but we're still doing the best beer.
Yeah, they're
on
still
the
doing
block.
events, and Pesci Day's coming, by the way.
Nice.
I really appreciate, what Matt Tweedy's doing out at Tooth and Nail. I really like what Callum's doing at Sun and Hill. I really like Matron.
Adam True History.
Adam True History. Bim and Godspeed, what he's been doing.
Never
But
heard
also
of him.
like, and this isn't, because we're here today on a GLB podcast, but honestly, like my father-in-law has a Great Lakes unicorn t-shirt. And there was a moment where I saw him wear that t-shirt in a photo. And I was like, man, that is an example of like a timeless brand. And he told me he used to buy 2 fours of that beer
and green PET bottles back in the day.
and just the history and what you guys have done, I think is really cool.
Devil's Pale Ale, man, on cask like 20 years ago. Was sick.
Well, you remember, we didn't talk about this, but you remember that Great Lakes tap takeover we did back at Old Bar Volo?
Which
on
one?
That poster?
We did a number of them.
so many.
Well,
the first one.
The
very
OG,
first one,
the very first one.
23 taps, I think it was.
Yeah, I just remember all those 20 liters.
So that was right
painted
before my
blue.
time.
Yeah.
Just before my time. But then we did another one, and right before closing, we did a huge one. That's still, I can remember going in and this rapid fire, we always fuck it up, but we going in and talking to all the staff and doing the sampling, and it was pretty amazing.
I think for the time it was cool.
So-
I think you were the first tap takeover that Great Lakes ever did.
It might have been the first tap takeover
that
we
you ever
did.
did. Yeah. I think we were asking. Lackey said, "Oh, ask Ralph about this," and I think it was the first tap takeover. He's like, "Why do I trust this brewery that always did like red leaf lager and horseshoe lager?" But that's how much we've evolved. Best time and place for a beer.
in your backyard on a nice hot day with friends and family.
Okay.
Nice piazza in Italy. Nice cold, nice tall glass. Nice warm weather. Crisp lager.
One's a snub. I'm just joking. Best place to grab a beer in Toronto that's not a Volo location.
Wide open.
Okay.
What's that spot on Queen Street? The dive bar near Carl's house. We went there for
The Done Right Inn?
Yeah.
Oh, the Done Right Inn.
You don't even know the name of the
Yeah.
bar.
I can't. I forgot about
The fun fact that we sell a lot of beer that Done Right In.
it. Yeah. I mean, it's a cool vibe.
It's-
I mean, it's just like
It's cool backyard patio.
We had a little, for my bachelor party,
yeah,
we had a little stop in
that
there.
was cool.
If you weren't in the beer or hospitality industry, what would you be doing?
Marketing or in the game community.
Okay, like gaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's a tough one. Something design related, graphic design. Yeah.
Okay. And if you could have a beer with just one person in the whole world, dead or alive, famous or not, who would you choose?
Dean Martin.
That would be epic. Yeah, it would be. That's a good answer. Yeah.
King of cool?
He'd drink you under the table.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'll go with Frank Sinatra.
Okay. So that would be. Could you imagine that just today? That would just be an amazing experience. Last one, best hangover cure.
Coca-Cola.
The dim sum though.
Dim sum is a good. That's
salt,
good.
soy.
Yeah. I used to be like a pad thai guy. I used to pad thai and coconut water. It was just like that's my thing. Fellas, this has been amazing. This has been great. I really appreciated the conversation, catching up with both of you. And honestly, it's been so amazing to watch and experience what you two have been able to create over the years since we first crossed paths. From being classmates at George Brown to everyone thinking we were brothers. It's been a long journey for both, or for all of us. And beer drinkers are richer for all of it, really. When it boils down to it, you guys have created so much and just done so many things that have really benefited everyone in this industry. So all the best with the event this weekend, and we will see you there with a mug of, are we going to have Marathon Mild from House Hills?
Oh
No. Marathon
A
Mild,
little
no.
contention. Okay.
No.
Well, I will gladly raise a pint with you guys this weekend at Cask Days.
Thanks, Troy.
Troy,
Thanks for
thanks so
having
much.
us.
Thanks,
Great Lakes.
Great
Thank
Lakes.
you.
And have a Canuck Pale Ale on us.
Ah, thanks, man. And that's it. That's all, folks. Episode 46 with Tomas and Julian Morana, or as we're going to call them, the Brothers Morana, have moved from the mash tun to the fermenters. If you enjoyed our conversation or any other episodes, please leave a review or a comment wherever you get your podcast. Today's episode was fueled by cans of Old Dusseldorf alt beer. You can now get fresh cans of that at our GLB retail store or at the Brew Pub. Speaking of the Brew Pub, you can visit us for some delicious eats and fresh pours at 11 Lower Jarvis Street, or you can visit the brewery at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard in Etobicoke. If you have any content you'd love to hear us discuss on the show, guest ideas, or just want to tell us what you're drinking, drop us a line at podcast@greatlakesbeer.com. Until next time, please remember to keep tipping your glass of fresh GLB in the right direction. Supporting local never tasted so good.
To learn more about what's happening at Great Lakes Brewery, visit greatlakesbeer.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter or follow Great Lakes Beer on your favorite social media platforms.